Hey you guys. So another day down of this quarantine, right? Um, one less day. Today was another pretty day, thank gosh for that. Not a whole lot of time spent outside today, but did some cleaning. So Noah's not really impressed with that, but it is what it is. So he gets to sleep in a clean room tonight. So I guess we'll start with chapter 3. I hope all is well with you guys. I debated whether I was going to read the book with y'all over the weekend or not, and I was like, I don't want to wait until Monday to figure everything out, so we're going to read 3 today, for tomorrow, and then we'll talk about what to do for Monday. Chapter 3. Please, son, get off the floor and come sit in this chair. Dad? Michael opened his eyes and looked into the face of a familiar man, but as his eyes began to focus, he could tell the man was clearly not his father. He was a small, older man whose neatly combed, almost white hair contrasted with the untidy appearance of his clothes. The sleeves of his dress shirt were rolled up at the elbows, and his red and black striped tie was loosened at the collar. A pair of small, round, but Coke bottle thick spectacles were perched on his nose, making his clear, blue eyes seem huge. Your arrival is quite an inconvenience, the man said. So what's new? Michael mumbled. Excuse me? The man looked over the top of his spectacles at Michael. Nothing. Good. Just sit in that chair and be very quiet. Turning quickly, he walked toward a huge hand-carved desk. Settling himself behind it and picking up a stack of papers, he grumbled. As if I don't have enough happening right now. Trying to get a grip on his surroundings, Michael looked around. He was sitting on a big, expensive-looking rug, and his back was against the wall of a fancy, high-ceilinged room. To his left was the hardback chair that had been pointed to by the man, who was now busily sorting papers across the room. To his right, a globe stood on a pedestal in front of an unlit fireplace. Easing up and into the chair, Michael said, I'm so thirsty. Without looking up, the man replied, I'll get you something in a bit. For now, please be quiet. Unable to contain the question any longer, Michael asked, So, where am I? Look here now. The man slammed the stack of papers down on the desk and pointed his finger at Michael. I asked you nicely to be quiet, and I'm expecting you to do it. You are in Potsdam, Germany, a suburb of Berlin, in a free zone presently controlled by the Red Army. It is Tuesday, July 24th, 1945. The man took a deep breath, appearing to be calm, and reached for his work again. Filing through papers, he said, There, now, sit and chew on that for a while. Michael propped his elbows on his knees and dropped his head in his hand. I must be in the hospital. That's where they send kids who try to drive their cars off embankments. Psychiatric hospital. Michael looked over to the man at the desk. And who is he? My doctor? If so, he needs to work on his bedside manner. But Germany? Why would he say that? And the Red Army? Maybe he's as cuckoo as I am. Unzipping his pullover, Michael realized he was starting to sweat. He noticed a white water pitcher and some glasses on a small table near the window and walked slowly toward it. Out the corner of his eye, he saw the man look up, frown, and go back to his work. Michael tried to pour the water and drank it quickly. He looked out the window and realized he was on the second floor of this building, whatever it was. Below him was the bank of a slow-moving river. But there were no families, boating, no children swimming. In fact, as he looked around, he saw no one at all. What's up with that? Michael muttered as a breeze warmed his face. Warm air? He thought it was pretty chilly when I left the restaurant a few minutes ago. Then it hit him. Not only was the outside air warm, but every tree was full of leaves, and the grass below him was green. All the trees he had passed on the road had been gold or red. Now they were suddenly green again. Something seriously wrong here. Michael stuck his head out the window. Whew, it's hot, he decided. So why are the windows open anyway? The air conditioning should be running full blast. Walking toward a seat, Michael scanned the walls for a thermostat. He didn't see one. The only thing he saw was an old heater that someone had stuck in the fireplace. Not that old thing would do anybody any good, he thought. It's so old it looks like it would have been made in... Michael stopped. He whispered aloud. The 1940s. He stood up suddenly and faced the man behind the desk. The white-haired man looked up and slowly pushed his work to the side. A slight smile on his thin lips. He leaned back into his chair, crossed his arms, and peered curiously at Michael. Michael's mind raced. Potsdam. Why does that weird name sound so familiar? I've never been to Germany, and I've certainly never been to Potsdam. Wait! Potsdam! He suddenly remembered that just weeks before in American history, Miss Collins had gone on and on about Potsdam, the site of some war conference. After the conference, they had made the decision to drop the atomic bomb on Japan. That was during World War II. A sudden case of the chills ran through Michael's body as he remembered the president who had attended that conference and the black and white photo in the history book. He sat down hard and tried to catch his breath. You're President Truman. Yes, the man said, I am. Although at the moment, I would give anything to be almost anyone else. I can't believe this. We were just studying you. You're known for giving people a hard time, Michael added. Truman grimaced. I've never given anyone a hard time. I just tell the truth. And they think it's a hard time. Removing his glasses, he rubbed his eyes and said, Obviously, I'll not be getting any peace from this point on, so we might as well go ahead and talk. Putting his glasses back on, he rose and came out from behind the desk. By the way, he said, why not you? Sir? Michael was confused by the vague question. Why not you? Looking into Michael's eyes, Truman enunciated the words carefully as if he were speaking to a child. I believe that is the last question you asked before you arrived. Michael frowned, trying to remember. I was in an accident, I think. Yes, Truman said. That's sometimes how this happens. And the last question a person asks is often, why me? Of course, why me is a question great men and women have been asking themselves since time began. And no, the thought has occurred to me more than once during these past few days. What's your name, son? Michael Holder. Am I okay? Well, Michael Holder, if you mean, am I dead? The answer is no. If you simply mean, am I okay? Truman shrugged. I'm not sure. I've never been given any information on how these things turn out. Suddenly, Michael relaxed. He smiled and nodded his head. I get it. I'm dreaming, right? Maybe you are, the president said. But, Michael, I'm not. And even if you're dreaming, that's not a problem. For centuries, dreams have been used to communicate instruction and direction to people of purpose, great men and women. God used dreams to prepare Joseph for his future as a leader of nations. He gave battle plans to Gideon in a dream. Joan of Arc, Jacob, George Washington, Marie Curie, and the Apostle Paul were all guided by their dreams. But I'm nowhere near a great man, Michael said. I'm nothing like any of the people you've mentioned. I've messed everything up. I'm certainly no Apostle Paul. I'm not even sure I'd believe in God anymore. Truman smiled and put a hand on Michael's shoulder. That's all right, son, he said. He believes in you. How do you know that? Michael asked. Because, Truman answered, looking directly at Michael. You wouldn't be here if he didn't. Sometimes someone is chosen to travel the ages, gathering wisdom for future generations. It's as if God literally reaches down and places his hand on his shoulder, and in this case, the president peered over his glasses, it was your shoulder. A sharp knock at the door interrupted them. Without waiting for a response, a stocky man strode into the room. I'm sorry to barge in, sir, he said, his eyes surveying the room. I thought I heard you talking to someone. No, Fred, Truman said as he looked directly at Michael. No one here. Then motioning toward the door with his hand, he said, Will you see that I'm not disturbed? Of course, Mr. President, Fred said as he slowly backed out, a concerned look on his face. Still looking around, he added, I'll be escorting you to the conference room within the hour, but if you meet me before then, you'll be right outside, Truman said as he ushered the confused man from the room, and I won't hesitate to call for you. Thank you, Fred. When the president closed the door, Michael asked, He can't see me? Apparently no one can, Truman replied. No one, that is, except the person you came to visit. Of course, that makes me look a little crazy. said with a grin, and here all alone talking to myself. Fred Convell is my special bodyguard. He's temporarily assigned to the Secret Service, and I've grown rather fond of him. He must think the stress has finally gotten to me. Quickly, he wiped the grin off his face and continued, but I don't understand why anyone would find it strange. I have ample reason to be talking to myself with everything that's going on here. Truman cocked his head and looked at Michael from the corner of his eye. It is curious how you people always seem to show up during critical points in my life. This has happened to you before? Michael said. Yes, Truman said. The first time was the night Roosevelt died. I was alone in the Oval Office, and a young man about your age appeared out of nowhere. Fred came busting through the door, almost gave me a heart attack. It was strange that no one could see the boy but me. So what did he want? He was having just trouble deciding whether or not to finish college. Michael couldn't believe it. That's not a big enough problem for the President of the United States. What are you here for? Truman asked. Michael shrugged his shoulders and looked down at the floor. I don't know. I don't really know. Well, the President said as he moved across the room, at least that young man had a question. So what did you tell him to do? Michael asked. I didn't tell him to do anything, Truman replied. That's not my part in all of this. I offer my point of view. The ultimate outcome of everyone's life is a matter of personal choice, the President continued. It was evidently his second visit. He had just spent an hour or so with Albert Einstein. Wait, Michael looked up. I'll be going somewhere else after this? Yes, you will, Truman answered. Several different places, actually. But don't worry, they'll be expecting you. So you knew I was coming? I was informed in a dream the other evening, Truman said. He walked behind his desk and opened the right top of the drawer. Removing a folded piece of paper, he handed it to Michael and said, I was instructed to prepare this for you. This is why you are here. This is one of the decisions for success. You will receive 7 in all. Keep it with you and read it twice daily until it is committed to your heart. For only by committing this principle to your heart will you be able to share its value with others. Michael carefully began to unfold the page. No, wait, the President said as he put his hands over Michael's. Don't read it yet. You must wait until our meeting is finished. After you read those words, you will immediately travel to your next destination. Amazing, actually. You read the last word and bang, you're gone. Michael reached over and started spinning the globe, stopping it on the United States. Do you know my future? He asked. Nope, Truman said. Can't help you there. And I wouldn't if I could. Your future is what you decide it will be. Now you, on the other hand, could probably tell me mine. Michael opened his mouth to speak, but the President held out his hands as if to ward off the words, thanks, but no thanks. God knows, there are enough influences coming to bear without you telling me what I already did. Let me get this straight now. You say that my future is what I decide it will be, Michael began. I don't know about that. I certainly didn't decide to be in the situation I'm in now. I've been a good friend, a pretty good son, a dedicated team player, and a decent student. But now my 3 best friends probably hate me. My parents don't trust me. My dad's really sick, and I'm off the track team, which means I won't get the scholarship I need to go to college. Michael, we're all in situations of our own choosing. Even with the things we can't control, we have a choice on how we react. Our thinking creates a path to either success or failure. However, by not taking responsibility for our present, we crush the possibility of an incredible future that might have been ours. Michael shook his head. I don't get it. I am saying that outside influences are not responsible for where you are mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. You have chosen the path to your present destination. The responsibility for your situation is yours. Michael jumped up from his chair. No, he cried. I didn't mean for this to happen. I was trying to help, driving my friends home that night. Everything just went all wrong. It's not my fault. Truman placed his hand on Michael's back. Sit down, he said softly. He pulled a chair around to face Michael, who was now trembling with anger and confusion. Look here, son. It's not my desire to upset you. But with the limited time we've been given together, truth will have to come before tact. The president leaned forward and took a deep breath. Listen to me. You are where you are because of your thinking. Your thinking controls your decisions. Decisions are choices. In the past few years, you have made choices that will affect the rest of your life. You have chosen your friends, how highly to regard your parents, whether to study or go to a party on a Friday night. You began making choices years ago that led you to your present situation. As you walked right down the middle of the path every step of the way. Truman paused. He pulled out his handkerchief and wiped his brow. Michael's head was hanging, his chin on his chest. Michael, look at me, the president said. The words, "It's not my fault," should never again come from your mouth. The words, "It's not my fault," have been symbolically written on the gravestones of unsuccessful people ever since Eve took her first bite of the apple. Until a person takes responsibility for where he is, there's no way to move on. The bad news is that the past was in your hands. But the good news is that the future, my young friend, is also in your hands. As the president leaned forward to touch Michael on the shoulder, he was interrupted by 3 quick knocks on the door. "Mr. President," came a voice from the hallway. It was Fred Canful again. He opened the door slightly and said, 5-minute warning, sir. I'll wait for you out here. Mr. Churchill and the Russian are already making their way to the conference room." "Thank you, Fred," Truman chuckled. Once the door closed, he said, "It seems my bodyguard doesn't care very much for Mr. Stalin. Come to think of it, neither do I, but I suppose he's a necessary part of this process." He stood up and began rolling down his sleeves and buttoning the cuffs. Michael saw the president's jacket hanging over the back of the desk chair and went to retrieve it. "What will you do?" he asked. Truman buttoned the collar, straightened his tie, looked over at Michael. "Let's not play games here, son. You've studied your history. I think we both know what I'm about to do." "Do I want to do it? Do I want to deploy this bomb? Of course not." He walked quickly to his desk and gathered several notebooks. Suddenly he put them down again and faced Michael. "I don't have any idea what you know about me." He paused. "I mean, I do know what people say about me, and he wrinkled his left hand at Michael, as if he couldn't come up with the words he wanted to say. "I don't know what they say about me where you come from. For all I know, history books are full of what I eat or how I dress, and frankly, I don't care. But let's get something straight between you and me. I hate this weapon, okay? I'm scared of it and concerned about what it might mean for the future of our world." He stared blankly at Michael for a moment. It was as if he was seeing something in his own future, and it frightened him. Shaking his head to clear his thoughts, he said, "Still got the paper?" "Yes, sir." Michael held up the folded paper that never left his hand. "Well, then," the president said with a smile, "go ahead and read it." He walked to the door, opened it, and was about to go through when he paused, turned, and said, "Michael." "Sir?" Michael answered. "Good luck, son." "Thank you, sir," Michael said. Truman turned to leave, but again he reached back and shook Michael's hand. "And just because I use the expression 'good luck' doesn't mean that luck has anything to do with where you end up." And with that, the President of the United States closed the door. Michael was now alone in a large room. He walked slowly to the desk and sat down in the big leather chair where Truman had been only moments before. He slowly unfolded the paper and began to read. First decision for success. The buck stops here. From this point forward, I will accept responsibility for my past. I understand that in order to have wisdom, I must accept responsibility for my own problems, and that by accepting responsibility for my past, I feel free myself to move into bigger, brighter futures of my own choosing. Never again will I blame my parents, my friends, my teachers, my coach, or my boss for my present situation. Neither my education nor lack of one, my genetics, or the up and downs of everyday life will affect my future in a negative way. I will look forward I will not let my history control my destiny. The buck stops here. I accept responsibility for my past. I am responsible for my success. I am where I am today because of decisions I have made. My decisions are controlled by my thinking. I will begin to change where I am today by changing the way I think. My thoughts will be constructive, never destructive. My mind will live in the possibilities of the future and not in the problems of the past. I will choose to be around others who are working and striving to bring positive changes in the world. I will never seek comfort by being around those who have decided to be comfortable. When I have the opportunity to make a decision, I will make one. I understand that God did not give me the ability to make decisions, right decisions. He did give me the ability to make a decision and then make it right. When I make a decision, I will stand behind it. I will put my energy into making the decision. I will not waste my time on second thoughts. My life will not be an apology. It will be a statement. The buck stops here. I control my thoughts. I control my emotions. From now on, when I am tempted to ask, why me? I will immediately answer, why not me? Challenges are opportunities to learn. Difficulty is preparation for greatness. I will accept this preparation. Why me? Why not me? I will be prepared for something great. I accept responsibility for my past. I control my thoughts. I control my emotions. I am responsible for my success. The buck stops here. Wow. So, Michael meets President Truman. President Truman had to make the decision during World War II whether or not to use a nuclear atomic bomb on the people of Japan. And obviously, based on history, we know that his choice was that he would, killing many, many, many people. And he made that decision not knowing what the consequences were going to be. But he had to make that decision, and he had to stand on it. And no matter what would have happened, he knew that when he made that decision, it's what he intended to make, and he was going to stand behind it, no matter what the future held. And so we're going to do some reflecting journaling on Monday. This book is filled with a lot of life lessons, and I have some really creative ideas in mind for our journal, but we'll wait and unfold that on Monday. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and let me know, hit me up tomorrow after you listen to this video in the comments, and just kind of put for me how you're feeling about the book so far. I'm excited to know. Y'all have a great night. Bye, guys.